Hey guys, it's Ian here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing another Spider-Man issue review. Today we're going to be looking at Spider-Man number 3, Ultimate Spider-Man number 3, with no changes to the art team as far as I understand it. I think, yeah, I don't think there's any changes. And, well, this one's a pretty quick review, I think, because there really wasn't too much going on here in terms of action, although there's been significantly more action here than in either of the previous two issues. And actually, I think that I lied. There is quite a bit of action, but it's not so surprising and interesting that I'm going to spend a long time talking about it. So let's just jump into it. Basically, it starts with a little bit of a comedic moment here between MJ and her son, who are teasing Peter and May about the fact that they know something's up, but they're not sure what it is, right? And so basically, it turns out that MJ and their son, I think his name is Ben or Richard, I think maybe. Yeah, right? That's Peter's dad's name, Richard Parker. Yeah, I don't know. Either way, the point is that they're onto them, and Peter and May are trying to play it off as you know, we're not doing anything. It's all good. We'll see what happens. And then as soon as they both leave, as soon as Richard and MJ leave, Peter and May start messing around with his new suit, and basically what they're trying to achieve is finding a good suit for him that isn't scary, like the black suit that he kind of just has for default, right? And so they spend some time. There's a little bit of a fun sequence here where he's just going through different suits from, you know, Spider-Man's history. Some of them he's making comments on that are kind of funny and interesting, depending on, you know, what the vibe of the suit is supposed to be. And eventually they land on the current Ultimate Spider-Man suit that you've seen on the covers. And, well, it's quite enjoyable. I really like this moment. I thought it was great. It also has this kind of really nice family moment to it, which is, you know, a dad and his little daughter kind of having fun with a pretty silly activity, right? And so that was pretty heartwarming, and I really, really enjoyed it, right? So, yeah, it all works out pretty well. Eventually, they move on to a different scene here, and Peter ends up going to visit J. Jonah Jameson and his Uncle Ben at their new office, which is this kind of like shitter in the middle of nowhere, I think. I mean, it's still part of New York, so I guess it's like meaningful, but, you know, it's this kind of crappy place that they really have to work to make better. Now, and they start talking to each other. Basically, they don't want to share some information with Peter because he's technically, you know, working for the enemy right now. They make a joke about that. And eventually, things turn to talking about the Green Goblin. And, well, Peter is not very sly here when he starts talking, you know, a big game and kind of being quite positive about the dude in the black suit, which is, you know, him. But Peter learns a little bit about Green Goblin, and he decides to go on a stakeout to find him and see what's going on, right? And so he's doing the stakeout now. We have moved to a new scene, and he's bored out of his mind. And we get to see the passage of time as he's kind of doing different activities. It's pretty fun. I like this. I think that there's a lot of expressiveness in the artwork that makes it quite enjoyable to look at. And eventually, we get to see the Green Goblin fighting Bullseye. And it's quite interesting. Bullseye is not a character I'm that familiar with, although I know he's more or less Hawkeye's, you know, bad guy. And, well, the fight is pretty interesting. It's going off kind of badly. Like, they're pretty evenly matched, but in a way that is kind of like maybe the Green Goblin might lose here. And eventually, Peter decides to jump in, right? There's kind of a lot of good action going on here. Pete wants to talk to the Green Goblin, and so he steps in. He teams up with the Green Goblin and beats Bullseye eventually, right? And, well, we get to see that Pete is not really that good at fighting yet, but it's working out pretty well. They managed to beat Bullseye, and, Green Goblin unmasked. It turns out to be Harry Osborn. Sorry. I don't know why I said that so weird. And, well, he kind of jokes about the fact that Peter's suit is proprietary and hijacks it because it's his to remove his mask, to unmask him. And, well, they meet properly. You know, Peter and Harry are now friendly, and they decide to go get a drink together, right? And this is kind of the start of their relationship, and I'm very curious to see what happens here because there might be a transition for Harry to be a bad guy, or it might turn out that Green Goblin and Spider-Man are going to be heroes in this Ultimate Universe, and I'm kind of interested in that. I'm curious to see who's going to end up being the bad guy here, and how Harry's story is going to be different from the standard stuff, right? So we'll see. Again, I think MJ doesn't know that Peter is Spider-Man, and I think that this is going to be a problem, but I'm not really sure how much of a problem it's going to be. So I'm very curious to see where that goes as well. And is it going to be dangerous to have Peter be friends with Harry? Not in the sense that, he's the psycho murderer, bad guy. More in the sense of like Harry is clearly against Fisk and all of these other people that are doing things because they basically killed his dad, right? Maybe not on purpose, but probably on purpose. And I think he's blaming Tony Stark specifically for it. I think that's what happened in the first issue. And so he's fighting crime. But is it going to turn into a revenge kind of thing that's going to lead into, villainy or not? That's very, important to know, right? So, yeah, those are my thoughts on this issue of Ultimate Spider-Man. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys later.